Order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Mayor, would you please call the roll, please?
I would be happy to. Barb Wettstein.
Here.
Rebecca Reber.
Here.
Anita Jakuzinski.
She's excused.
Lizzie Pfaff.
I haven't heard
Paff,
from
sorry.
Lizzie. Anybody heard?
Not sure yet. Okay. Gary Dunlap.
Here.
Cheryl Hancock. Is excused.
Excused, sorry.
And Tom Cruise.
Here.
And I'm here, Kate Mayer.
So is that 5 out of 7?
It is.
5 out of 7. With 5 of the 7 board members present, I declare a quorum. I note that the agenda has been posted, distributed, and sent to the local media. With this in mind, are there any changes to this agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
I would so approve.
Second.
Kate has moved, and
Oh.
Tom has second to approve the agenda as published. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as published, please signify by saying yea.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed,
Yay.
please signify by saying no. I did the same thing last time. The motion to approve the published agenda has passed. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board relative to any items at this time? Mr. Menninger, I have a yellow card. And we just asked that a 5-minute time limit per person be followed.
Talk fast. Good evening, Tim Mettinger, N7150 Elizabeth Drive, Holmen. When I left the board over 3 years ago now, I said I would come back if I had something to say, and I finally have something to say, so I came back tonight. As I was earlier reminded, and came to my mind that I believe there are only 2 more school board meetings before fall sports practice starts. But that's not why I came tonight. I came tonight and wishing he was here, but certainly is worth noting. As someone who served on the board for 9 years, it was a great privilege to work with Jay Clark. And I wanted to come knowing that he is retiring soon to tell him what a privilege it was, what a great asset he's been to the Holmen School District. I knew him as a parent. Our kids kind of grew up together, got to go to school events with him. And it was a pleasure working with him as a member of the school board. He certainly will be missed, and I want to wish him well in his retirement. So, anyways, that's all I had to say tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Nice. Thanks, Tim.
Anybody else? I didn't get any more yellow slips, so. And district administrators report, Chris?
Yeah, so I have a couple of items this evening. The first is we have started construction of our 2-stage entries at Evergreen and Sand Lake, and both projects are going as planned and on time. At Evergreen, they pretty much have all of the bottom flooring out, and the removal of all asbestos in that area is almost completed. And then at Sand Lake, yep, some walls are going down, and it's definitely all in action. So those are going very well. Just want to give a quick update. And then if you haven't noticed, our school district website has finally the IT department's been working long and hard along with many of our staff, so I want to thank them for all their hard work, but it has a new look in that. So when people go to our district website, they will find a different look, a different design, and hopefully it'll be easier for them to navigate and to find information. It is still a work in progress, and we will continue to work to make that communication avenue that's easy for our community members to access information. And I have one more announcement. Tonight, we have a board member. This is going to be her last board meeting after 7 years of service. And I wanted to take a moment just to recognize Kate Mayer. I've had the privilege of working with her for the past 4 years since I've been here, and it's been quite a pleasure. I've learned much from her. And I just think of all the time and effort and all the committees you've been on and all the work you've done with that, and you'll be missed in that, definitely. But just wanted to say thank you, and we have a
Thanks,
little
Chris.
certificate and a little gift of appreciation for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, alrighty, sure.
Anything else, Chris?
No, that would be it for the report.
Recognitions and thank yous?
Yes, I have one of those in my piles and piles of information here. We wanted to take the opportunity to thank, we did get a teaching and technology grant from CenturyLink, Clark M. William Foundation in that. And what this will do, it will fund purchases for our 4K, our Holmen Public Preschool program, for a light table, manipulatives, zoophonics materials to be used in the classroom on the smart board. So just I wanted to also thank Naomi Burgum for applying for the grant and getting those supplies and resources for her students. So wanted to just say thank you.
Okay, on to reports and discussion. We have Beth Hobbs with the school bus bid results, and this is on tonight's consent agenda.
Good evening, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We had our bid opening in the first week of June, and as School Bus World is, we only had two companies bid. So the one company that we went on was the lowest bid, but also the one closest to our specs. So we want to go again with Wisconsin School Bus to get a wheelchair bus with 3 wheelchair and 54 passengers, and then a 77 passenger bus, and those will both be propane again, which would bring our numbers up to 12. And I think I talked last time I was here, it'll be about a third of our fleet will be propane. And we're slowly moving them into using them on a daily basis as much as we can and everywhere that we can. So we're really happy with the propane. They're doing really well for us. So that's my recommendation, to get those buses.
Anybody have any questions? No? Thanks, Beth.
Okay, thank you.
Chris is gonna speak on the high school site development bid results, and this is also on tonight's consent agenda.
Yeah, if you remember last week, myself and Doug had presented on the actual site development that's gonna occur at the high school coming up. And on our timeline, the bid opening was just on June 20th on Thursday, this last week. So I'm here to present the actual results, and we presented on it last time because it's for consent this evening, so we can move forward and keep on time with our project. So we had 4 bidders. We had McCabe Construction, Olympic Builders, Gerke Excavating, and Badger Environmental. I'm very happy to announce that the bid came in below what was expected. It came in below by $82,373, which is a fair amount. So we would like to recommend Badger Environmental receive the bid for our Phase 1 site development. So is there any questions on that?
No, the McCabe Construction, the comma is funny, but I get that's 539,000, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, yeah, there's a zero missing there, yeah.
Good catch.
Good
Anybody
catch.
else have any questions?
Nope.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Next, is the 2019-20 student parent handbooks, and the principals are coming up. The
Yes,
public
they are.
school, preschool, elementary, and middle and high school, and this will be on the July 8th consent agenda.
I'm gonna let Wayne start tonight.
Go backwards.
Good evening, everybody. I believe you got a draft of our handbook to review. I can go through our changes detail by detail, but maybe it's best off for you to ask questions. Most of the revisions in here are language revisions per state statute or things like that, where we just needed to clean up a few language things. There are a few new things. I'll highlight the new things. Putting our mission and vision on the front cover, we thought was really important. So we really keep that at the forefront and focus of all of our decisions. A new piece, our mixed grade level classes and our AP classes. So our 11th and 12th graders that might have classes together, or if there's a 10th grader in there as well. Just to communicate early that we expect our 11th graders, even though graduation happens early, that we expect them to finish out the school year with their teachers. And so just want to communicate that early. And it's a great opportunity for our staff and our students, especially our gifted and talented students, to learn something new or different, or, you know, get to those things that they haven't gotten to before. So just communicating that a little bit more clearly, and along with our AP classes. You know, sometimes the AP test occurs early in May, and there is a lot of school left. And so just want to communicate early that our expectation is that learning would continue, which would go along with our mission and our vision. Another new piece is just adding the Chromebook insurance, just one more place for communication with our families about getting Chromebook insurance. High honor roll, it's nothing new to us, but we wanted to make sure we communicated how that is calculated, so that's new in the handbook this year. Our privileged and structured study hall was a new endeavor this year, and we're gonna go back and look at our data, but we really wanted to help our students that were struggling in the classroom and support them in a more silent setting where they could get additional supports, and those students that were experiencing success, give them more privileges. So they could listen to music or get food from the cafeteria, things like that. So we added that to our handbook. Cleaned up our online courses we really didn't have in our handbook. So those were the new things really for our handbook. Most everything else is language changes. Questions you might have?
No.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Tackett.
Hello, I will speak as Ryan Vogler tonight. Did I sound like him? So on behalf of Mr. Vogler and Ms. Holter, their handbook changes were also just updates and changes to reflect current practices, nothing major. Like Mr. Sackett said, also making sure that the mission and Viking values are at the forefront of their handbook as well, updating their letter V to reflect that also. Do you have any questions? He did outline some things just in case.
No?
Thank you, Mr. Vogler.
You're welcome. Now I'll speak as Rachel Favre, representing the elementary principals. So I don't know if you saw our handbook or had a chance to look at it, but it drastically changed. So by all means, if you have questions, please let us know. We have talked ever since I started, and I just finished my 5th year here, about shortening this up. A lot of policy was included in the handbook, which made it very lengthy. And as far as a parent goes, they're going to the handbook for quick information. And so we were able to look at a couple models that we found elsewhere. We removed the cover sheet and just put the school information along with the mission and vision again, common theme right at the front. And then on the back side of the front page, again, is just quick information, school hours, release procedures, and then we tried to keep it minimum with just the key ideas that families need, ending with a page of the calendar for the year. Any questions on why we changed anything in particular?
No.
And I worked with the elementary principals on revising the public preschool handbook as well. So you'll notice that it looks very similar in format with the vision and mission on the front. A couple of differences that I can point out in the teaching and learning section, that's where we talked a little bit more about how 4K is different. So we talked about creative curriculum and how we're using second step curriculum to enhance our PBIS. So the teaching and learning is a little different from elementary. In the attendance procedures, 4K currently is an optional program, and so we made some changes that pertain to 4K and just put in parentheses there that this is according to what is appropriate for 4K. So just so that you're aware, that's why there's a changes, because right now 4K is optional. So And then I think the only other change that's different from elementary is that we did create just a separate calendar just for 4K. And the reason we did that is because this school year we added some time to the day for 4K so that on early release days we don't have students in the classroom. Instead, we have some family outreach events available so families can still come and bring their children with them, and we do some outreach things, but we don't have school on those days. So the calendar that's included in the 4K handbook has an orientation session on September 3rd, and then our first day of school is on September 4th. You'll notice that the early release days for the district will be just represented as no school district early release day. And then we also do not have 4K and early childhood on the last day of school because it is also an early release day. And so our calendar looks just a little bit different. So, any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Is it common, and you might not have an answer for this, maybe Chris would have the answer. Is it common for a district to have so many different handbooks for different parts of different education? Is it?
Yeah, each level is structured
I was
and has
hoping- I
different
was hoping we were
expectations.
unique.
There's some, I would say we're unique in the way that, especially how the elementary has changed their handbook and they have simplified it and how they have just the general information, making it more of a communication piece with just general information in it instead of another policy guide in that. So moving towards more uniform and more, maybe you could say likable guide for parents.
Sure.
So.
May I say something? Is that okay?
Yeah,
So actually, I really like the continuity. Like, I think you guys did an amazing job making us look like one district. Some districts have a different handbook for each school. So like every elementary school, every middle school, and they look very different, and the content can be very different from building to building based on the personality of the administration and the ideas that they have as a staff team. So I really appreciated that we look very unified. So, I mean, that we are very unified, but you know what I'm saying. So,
I don't see any flowers and balloons in the high school manual, though.
Oh.
It's the facts, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. I'm Mrs. Hancock today too, by the way. Mr. Vogler.
Oh.
Reports and discussion, continuing notification to parent, guardians of school board adopted student academics from Kim Edwards, and this is on the July 8th consent agenda.
Yes. So good evening. Wisconsin Act 55 requires that every year we notify parents and guardians of the academic standards that will be in effect for the upcoming year. This is a required annual notification, so you may remember me doing this last year as well. The law also states that we can provide this information on the website, or electronically, I should say. So if you go out on our fancy new website and you check out the instructional services page, you will see them all listed there as well for this previous school year. In addition, it is required that this appear as an agenda item on the first school board meeting of the school year after July 1, that clearly identifies the student academic status that are adopted by the board. So this report and consent agenda item is to provide notification to parents and guardians that our district has requested the approval by the Board of Education to adopt the Common Core state standards for English language arts and mathematics, the next generation science standards, as well as the Wisconsin model academic standards covered by all other areas. They are the same ones that we've had for a number of years. Are there any questions about that? Comments, concerns?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next topic is fund balance designation by Julie Holmen, and this one is on tonight's consent agenda.
Good evening. This time of year, the school board is required to take a look at the estimated fund balance designation for June 30th, 2019. It's part of GASB, Government Accounting Standards Board 54. to report the guidelines and the year-end balances to you. As you know, our audit is not till the end of July, and you don't get audit results till much later, but we're required to estimate fund balances on the books as of June 30th. It is an estimate. You see that in the issue paper. Very difficult at this time of year. We have a lot of projects still going on, a lot of outstanding invoices, great things happening throughout the district, making it really challenging to identify where we're gonna end on June 30th. We're not even done with payroll, for example, for June 30th. So, but this is an estimate for fund equity, and more importantly, fund equity is divided into two categories, spendable and non-spendable, and then within the general fund, additional categories. So I'll go to the bottom of the issue paper and just walk through what those categories are. For the general fund, the estimated fund balance for June 30th is $14,364,000, $0 in non-spendable, 1.6 in restricted, and that is our sinking fund balance. Those are the dollars that we set aside each year for those recurring operational referenda, where part of it goes into a sinking fund for future use for operations. Next is the committed spendable fund balance in the general fund at about $2.4 million. This is set aside for post-employment obligations for retirees, two-stage entry vendor contracts that we have existing for Evergreen and Sand Lake that'll run into next year, so we have commitments to those vendors, as well as future set-aside reserves for the Viking two-stage entry. Next is the assigned or spendable, $7.5 million. This is for payroll, benefits, and other obligations prior to our first state aid payment in September. So aid receipts from DPI, we start getting again in September. So we obviously have obligations between now and then that we need to meet, so we set aside dollars for that purpose. And lastly, in the general fund is the unassigned spendable. This is just our balance of the $14.3 million total estimated fund balance in the general fund, and that's just unassigned spendable for operational cash flow needs. Next is the gift account, or Fund 21. This is a restricted fund. It is spendable, and the estimated fund balance is almost $800,000 for June 30th. Next is the debt service fund, and that is restricted, spendable, and approximately $3.9 million in fund balance. That'll be put towards future retirement of debt, principal, and interest payments. Next is the Fund 40 Capital Projects Fund. This one has a rather large restricted spendable fund balance of $22.7 million. This is for our high school addition and remodel construction fund, so that's for the future completion of those projects. Next is Fund 50, or Food Service Fund, also restricted spendable within Fund 50. The estimated fund balance there for June 30th is $671,000. And then finally, Fund 70 is our scholarship fund, and we estimate that total fund balance to be about $220,000 at the end of this year. Are there any questions?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
The 2019-20 Police Liaison Contract by Dr. Mueller again, this will be on the July 8th consent agenda.
Correct. Is it okay if I just talk from here? I don't have anything to show you this time. So as we have in past years, we partner with our Village of Holmen to have a police liaison be a part of our school district. And it has been the past since I've been here, 4 years, Mr. Joe Hickey in that. He serves all of our schools. And we pay for half of the salary and benefits, and the village pays for the other half in that. And it's approximately about $28,500 for the year for this great. And I just wanted to mention, with kind of the state of security and safety and so on, we have found Mr. Hickey to be such an asset for us, just in building connections with our community partners, and just an amazing resource as we work through and navigate just the different landscape in education nowadays. So, you know, at some point in time, with the growth of our student population at our middle school, it would be nice to eventually have more than just Joe, but right now, with talks with the village, we're happy to have Joe. So, And that's where we're at, and that's what we're proposing, is just continue with what we have had in the past years, so. All right.
Is there a certain area that he spends a lot more time?
Well, he's mostly at the high school, but he is assigned to go over now. His schedule is split between the high school and middle school, so he does have assigned times a couple days a week at the middle school for a portion of a day, just so that they know he's there. Because the idea was to build connections with the kids in middle school and help kind of be preventative before they get to high school. But what we have found is now he is also serving kids in our elementary more often than ever. So he's spread pretty thin at certain points in time. So, yep.
I think I know from what you said, but when the time comes that we feel that more staff is needed, is that something the school board approaches the village with first with a request? You know, like, we need more than one person here or another half-time. Does that come from the school district, or does the village tell us?
I think it's more of our request and working
okay.
with them in that. We have a lot of conversation with our police chief, Shane Collins, about that in the resources. I think in a growing community, in numbers that we are having, I think even the village is trying to, build their police force within themselves, and to have resources for us too gets more challenging. But you'll see the model growing and growing in schools, which, I never dreamed when I started education that would be what happens, but it's more for that preventative and just making those connections with kids in that. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'd make one comment, that's, we're lucky to have Joe. I think he's, I've watched him in action a few times, and he's very professional when he needs to be, and he has a great camaraderie with the kids, and I've known him since he was a little guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're lucky to have him, I think.
Okay, on to consent agenda items. Tonight we have 9 listed on there. Are there any items that any board member wants pulled for discussion? Okay, I'm gonna flip my page then. And then do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
The motion's been approved and presented. Is there any discussion? Do I need to discuss that? We don't need to discuss it. No discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve consent agenda items, please signify by saying yes. Those opposed signify by saying no.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Motion passes then.
I have just a quick announcement off of that. I just wanted to mention a few retirements that we have in that. Lori Gappa, who's actually been with us in the district for 32 years, she's going to be retiring at the end of July. And currently, right now, she's a head custodian over at Sand Lake. So she will be dearly missed, and we just want to thank her for her service. And then we also have Steve Marson in our maintenance department, and he's been with us for 28 years. We just have a lot of longevity in that. So he's retiring in August 2nd in that, so thank him for all of his work and fixing of, buses, machinery, tractors, about everything that we put his way. And then one of our bus drivers, he also served on our employee relations team since I've been here, Don Taylor. He's retiring after 15 years in the district in that. And I tell you, when you have these bus drivers that have been driving bus and building relationship with kids, it's hard to see them go. And he does everything though, and you'll see him out, he's mowing the lawn everywhere in the summer too. So a lot of these people, it's like they not only do one job, but they help out in other places when needed. So we'll definitely miss Don also. So we wish them the best.
Yes. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Now we have board members' reports and discussions. First, I will call upon board members in the order of the roll call. I would ask you to present any comments or committee reports you have. Barb?
On June 5th, I went to the CISA 4 annual convention. And they just had some interesting things. So again, CESA is the Cooperative Educational Service Agency, and they just pointed out that they work really hard to maintain cost so that they're not increasing expenses for districts because they know it's hard. So they're increasing services, but yet it's the fourth year in a row that they're not increasing cost to districts, which I think is worthy of mentioning. They serve 26 districts. They have several new programs that they're offering, career pathways development, continuous improvement service, district assessment coordinator, and especially focusing on some of the smaller districts who don't have, people in these positions. For example, the speaker was the superintendent from Alma who wears many hats because of the size of Alma Center, the size of their district. So yeah, some of their priorities are school-based mental health, STEM programs, and special education training to offer to districts. They're seeing an increase in emergency licenses that are needing to go out, especially in these rural communities. And these people don't have the training necessary, so they're really supporting those districts. So again, really just want to give kudos to our CESA for all the things they do for all the districts in this area. One other thing that they really focused on was the speaker was on a program called Educators Rising, and they stressed how 60% of teachers work within 20 miles of the school they attended. And so they really are focusing on kids in middle school and high school who have an interest potentially in education, and really offering opportunities for them to pursue that and incentives. In fact, they talked about how Onalaska guarantees their alumni an interview. So just because they said they are finding that people who grew up in that area tend to stay more so than people who are possibly commuting from another area. So just a lot of information on that, but it was really beneficial to go. And again, I'm thankful for all the things that they offer our district and our whole area of the state.
Thanks, Barb. Lizzie's absent. Nita, Gary.
We did not have a finance committee meeting this week. Everything's still going real smooth. And then I'd just like to thank Kate. I just deeply respected her board service over the years and listened very hard to what she had to say in the board meetings, and she always made a lot of sense, and we had a lot of good conversations down in that end of the, and also I'm gonna miss all the great treats she used to bring me and get me through the meetings. So God bless, and I hope you do well.
Thanks, Gary.
Tom.
Yeah, I wanted to thank, with the weekly update, I thought that was really encouraging, the FFA, the farmers and stuff, that was really interesting. And I think it's like a real moving target, I think it's a standout for our district. And I also want to say goodbye to Kate. I think when she was an educator I think education was more fun back then in some ways. Now they do so much testing, which is fine, but there is some, I think, in education, the individuality of the teacher really brings out things. And I just think that, I know I had a nice talk with her once at the convention there in Milwaukee, and I just thought she was the Mrs. Bobing that I grew up with in my school, just always going out of their way. I just think you did that constantly. That was just, and you got energy from doing it too. So I wish you well.
Thanks.
And Kate.
I didn't go to any meetings. There wasn't any SALC for me to miss. So there's nothing there. Passages of leaving things behind are so wonderful, and thank you all for your words. It's kind of like being at your own funeral, which is really cool, Everybody should get that. Well, not being at the funeral is not really cool, but you know where I'm going with that. It sounds like we have some good candidates who are going to be running for my place, and I hope, I don't see any new faces in the audience here, but I'm guessing perhaps they might be listening, and just thank them. Thank you, the four of you, three, who are going for this position, and to keep, I guess, not advice really, but just the sense of this board that I have always felt and lived by is the number one thing is a love for this district and a true love. And what that means is a love for our staff, both administration, every department that we have, every teacher, every child. And I sense that, and always have from all of you, that even disagreements come from that love base, you know? It's a really good board. So you will, newbie, whoever you are, you will really feel that. And I'm grateful to all of you. I have felt it too, and it's been so easy to be a member of this board. It's a very fulfilling job. I've loved it. I've just loved it. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Kate. And it's my turn. I just want to really quick talk about the Penguin Project. I was able to attend the Wizard of Oz yesterday in Sun Prairie. And it's, the Penguin Project is special needs children trying out for these plays. And those artists have mentors. So it was the Wizard, it was an amazing production, and they did it Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Sun Prairie. And my niece was the mentor to an artist, and my nephew as well, he did. But it's a great opportunity for kids to volunteer and to participate. But La Crosse is getting Annie Jr. The Penguin Project is coming to La Crosse. I think it started in June, and then they perform October 11, 10, 11, 12 in La Crosse, and that's through the La Crosse Community Theater. It's a great, adults can volunteer, students can volunteer, and then obviously special needs kids. Hopefully our district will participate and all the other districts in the area. So it was pretty cool. Very emotional though. Oh, yeah. In the end, the Penguin Project sings this song that they sing at the end of every play. But then the penguin, it's about, a penguin is a bird, but he can't fly. So that's why it's very emotional. It was pretty cool. So if we can be a part of that, it's amazing.
I never
So
heard of it.
Yeah, I hadn't either. It's small, but it's growing and growing. But it is a very cool production. Jay, I want to wish him the best of luck too in his happy retirement. And I think the district also gives sympathy out to that Central student who died close here. And I wish those 3 people interested in Kate's position very good luck, and also Kate, really good luck. Thanks for being a good role model.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Yep. So is there anything else that anybody wants to talk about? No?
Whoa, that's a new question. There we go.
Well, that's just a summary.
I'm holding on.
I need some socks.
We have July 8th board meeting and then July 22nd board meeting.
When is the interviews? You know?
Once Cheryl's out of the country, once she returns, we'll set a date for those interviews for the candidates, and that she probably wants to make sure the majority of folks can be here in that, and then make sure the candidates are available, and we'll get to you as the board will get to interview the 3 candidates in that. Just like we did once before. So yeah.
Good.
And then when you interview them, that night you do vote, and that you make a vote on who you would like to be your board member, and that the board member term is up through the spring election in that. So.
Okay. Is there any lobbying fees they can give us money or something? I don't know.
No, we stay away from that. We want to stay legal.
Sorry.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the board at this time? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
So moved.
Anybody second that?
Oh, yeah.
Right over it.
One is one, one is the
It
other.
is 7:40. Is there any other discussion?
No, you can't discuss now.
Oh, hearing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed signify by saying no. Gary? Motion passes. Do I say anything else?
We're adjourned.
Have a good night. We're adjourned, I guess.
Thanks.
Oh, that's funny. There was one.